Welcome to a bonus Ministry of Horror little mini episode where we are reviewing the brand new slasher, brutal, head bashing, jaw ripping, backwoods horror terror shot in 16mm Dolly.
Wow.
So beautiful.
Oh no.
Someone's art project, maybe?
All the way out here?
That's weird.
Don't miss the film critics are calling.
Nightmare fuel.
Hello?
A truly terrifying killer.
Hey, are you okay?
A wonderfully violent backwoods slasher. The scariest movie yet in the Great Chainsaw Massacre tradition.
Your new doll. You're gonna have to play along, play along, play along, play along, play along.
Mother
What did you do to me?
knows
We gotta go.
best. Dolly.
So Dolly comes from IFC, Shudder and Vertigo Releasing, and thank you very much to Strike Media for sending me an advance screener. Very much appreciated. I got to watch this last week, and the embargo's now lifted, so I can finally talk about it. Okay, so Dolly stars Fabian Therese, Russ Tiller, Eve Blackhurst, Michaela Scorzelli, Kate Cobb, with Ethan Suplee from My Name Is Earl and American History X, a number of things, Mallrats I often think of, and Sean William Scott, most well known for the American Pie films. Also introducing wrestler Max the Impaler, playing the physically imposing eponymous Dolly. So, as with all the reviews on the Ministry of Horror, we're going to talk a little bit about the plot, we're going to talk about the highs, the lows, and I'm going to give the film a score out of 10. So, as mentioned, the film is shot on 16mm, so it straight away evokes the feeling of the 70s horror of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Tourist Trap, The Hills Have Eyes, the films from, well, The Hills Have Eyes maybe not so much, but those those older films that just have that grainy look and just feel a little bit dirty and grimy, especially when the horror starts. And it does not take long for the horror to start. It stars Fabian Therese as Macy with her fiance, well, spoiler alert, with her boyfriend Chase, played by Sean William Scott. Chase is a father, a single father, and Macy, his partner, gets on with his kid, but has never really looked at motherhood as something for her. And they're going off on this little excursion out to the woods for a little bit of a hike together, where Chase is actually planning to propose to Macy. But during this excursion out into the woods, they overhear the sound of almost like a metallic lullaby. And in amongst all the trees, there's these porcelain dolls attached to the trees all over the floor, like it's this. It looks like some sort of weird art exhibition out in public. I don't know what the art exhibition would be about, but hey, that's art. And from there, we then meet Dolly. Now, slightly earlier on in the film, we've seen this Dolly character in a dilapidated house, cradling a headless body of a woman in a room that is filled with flies. The indication being that this headless corpse has been there a while, and Dolly seems very upset. Dolly being this hulking figure, massive, super strong looking, with a porcelain doll type mask covering their face. From there, things just get brutal. And not to give too much away, Macy is kidnapped and taken to be Dolly's daughter of sorts. Dolly treats her like a baby. So throwing it back to the whole idea of this being backwards and grimy, there are just moments that... What could I liken it to? There's a British film that came out in the early 2000s, if not the late 90s. I think it might be 2001, perhaps 2002, called Mum and Dad, which is it's messed up. It's messed up. It's one of those films that came out around this time of British horror going more for dark uber realism over having, you know, fantastical creatures or slashers. It was more so about just creating a really uncomfortable experience. It's a tough watch. I mean, it's an okay film. It's not the sort of film that I'd ever really be interested in rewatching. You know, it's not particularly great, but it is an uncomfortable experience. And there are certain moments that are evocative here of that discomfort. Not just in terms of the violence, because the violence is brutal. This is a brutal horror film. But interspersed with that, we have the moments of Macy trying to adapt to being held hostage as a baby and being treated as such. And it is just uncomfortable. There's nothing she can do because Dolly is super strong, super huge, and you can't really run away from them. It's a neat film. It's based on a short film by the same creator, Rod Blackhurst, called Baby Girl. I've not seen it, but it's probably available. Probably available maybe on YouTube. Runs at 83 minutes, so it's quite lean. And I think the things that stand out for this, one, I was very surprised to see, you know, two fairly big names, you know, in Ethan Suplee and Sean William Scott, who both do really well in their roles here. They're not being featured as the superstars. The films aren't being made around them, but the roles that they do play work very nicely, and they're very, very different characters. I think our lead, Fabienne Therese, don't actually know what else they have been in. I got a decent back catalogue. Teenage Cocktail, John Dies at the End, which I've always heard good things about. The Aggression Scale, A Glimpse Inside the Mind of Charles Swan III, and the AMC series The Trivial Pursuits of Arthur Banks. So not too much that I'm familiar with. Starry Eyes and Southbound, I've heard of them. I haven't seen either of them, but I've heard good things about them. But yeah, she does a pretty good job as our lead here. We follow her role in this film, and yeah, you do feel for her. You feel for her plight. It never really falls too much into the moments where you think, "Come on, you idiot! What are you doing?" I mean, there's some moments where you could argue, you know, go for the front door, go out the front door and run away. There's a moment where she has a potential chance to escape, but she runs upstairs. There is a reason for that, I understand, and that is the empathetic side of her, not in relation to Dolly. And then from there, I suppose when we get nearer towards the finale, yeah, you could maybe argue a couple of little moments, a couple of little teeny tiny moments of stupidity, but there are reasons for that, you know, in terms of why she has gone to try and grab something as opposed to just trying to end things or to get away. I'm trying to be a little bit vague without going too heavy into spoiler territory. It does have a decent sense of humour, which is odd to say for a grimy backwards horror film. But there's a couple of moments, I suppose, with the police force. Actually, the police force and the park rangers. Small roles in the film. But what I would say is stick around for the credits. Because the credits have this sort of country-esque hick song playing. And you listen to the lyrics of it, the lyrics relating to the film, which I thought was very clever. And there is a little hint at the end that, ooh, could there be more to come? You know, will Dolly return? Which I quite liked, because we don't see that too much these days. It's a film leaning into the fact that, hey, you know, this could well be a franchise. And I'm not against that. As mentioned earlier on, the look of the film, I really, really dug. I really, really dug. It kind of gave me a similar sort of feeling, I suppose, to In a Violent Nature, which I don't know if In a Violent Nature was shot on 32mm or digital, but In a Violent Nature, again, you're in like backwards America, in the forests and whatnot. It had a similar sort of locale to that in places. But I would say that the fact that this just has this grimy dirtiness, I do like that. I do like when a movie is shot on film, because it feels a bit more authentic than watching something that's overly produced or full of CGI. It just feels a little bit more real. And that's kind of what you want with a horror. You don't want to see something that's too overly produced, too focused on CGI. You want practical effects. You want part of the reason why people love the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is because it almost feels as though you're watching a documentary at times, which I know sounds a bit ridiculous, but there is this naked feel to it. And Dolly has that. It's not on the level of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Let's not get it twisted, but it does have that similar sort of realism, which I think does come from being shot on film. Do I have any negatives really about Dolly? Not really. Not really, no. I had a lot of fun with this film, and it hits the cinemas March 6th, I believe, is its worldwide release. It's United States release. It's March 6th. I believe the UK as well. Let me just check and actually confirm the correct things. UK cinemas from March 6th. So, yeah, once again, thank you very much to Strike Media for the early screener of this. Very much appreciated. What would I give Dolly out of 10? It's a solid 7. Solid 7 out of 10 for me. Make sure to check it out in cinemas. If not, it'll no doubt hit streaming with Shudder as a release of theirs. It is well worth a watch if you like an uber violent, grim, gory, grotesque trip into the woods. Hi, my name's Tez. This is the Ministry of Horror. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe on the various platforms. Listen on the podcast. We should have a proper podcast when I'm feeling a bit better. A little bit under the weather, you may be able to tell, later this week. But yeah, TikTok is popping off again. If you're not already on the TikTok, search Ministry of Horror. Give it a like, follow, everything. Much appreciated. And catch you later.